I want to invite Amaryllis Kennedy, our campaign director, back up to close us out and really just thank you all so much again for spending the day with us. And I hope this has left you feeling inspired and excited to vote for Bobby this November.
Thanks, Bridge. Closing here, one of the questions that I see, that we didn't have time to get to formally, but I'll just touch on because it moved me, is about what hope Bobby brings for our children and for our grandchildren. And that question really struck me because, first of all, I see it in the polling. We have extraordinarily disproportionate support among parents who have kids under the age of 17 and among voters who are themselves under the age of 40. So I think that the concern over our future is a huge part of what drives so many of you, so many of us. It certainly was with me. I have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 15-year-old while running this campaign. And, I wish I could put bricks on their heads because they're growing up while I'm working 20 hours a day. But it is for them. And I know that's why all of you take time away from your families or out there with your families fighting. And for me, it was looking at them and wondering whether, when they graduate high school, are they going to live in a country where if they say the wrong thing on social media, their bank account gets frozen or their passport gets confiscated? And that would have sounded preposterous to me a few decades ago, at least in this country. And it doesn't anymore. And to me, when I was a kid, my parents took us to Civil War battlefields on the weekends a lot. And my brother and I loved that in the gift stores, they had these long envelopes, and you would take out the documents and they were on the old parchment paper, and seemed like, the original Declaration of Independence, the original Constitution, the Gettysburg Address. And we loved these things. My brother and I would sit in the rear facing seats of our Volvo station wagon and, exchange them. And life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, to me as a kid, the idea that pursuit of happiness was a founding ideal for our country, the audaciousness of that has inspired me my entire life. And yet today, all three of those things, so central. I mean, life, our actual years, sacred years on this planet, are increasingly under threat. We're increasingly sick and we get fewer of them. In 1970, if you lived in this country, your life expectancy was on par with other developed countries. And we only spent 7% of our GDP on health. Now it's 18%. But if you're born in this country, on average, you die 5 years earlier than living in any other developed country on earth. And that's 5 years with your grandkids and your family waking up and seeing the sunrise. And so how can we have been guaranteed life as an inalienable right and be losing it by the day and month and year because of health being so devalued by our leaders for these past decades? And then liberty, I think we've all seen our constitutional liberties continue to be eroded. People across the entire political spectrum through all the Gallup polling agree that we are getting less free, not more free in this country, regardless of their political affiliation. And that means that we are leaving our children and our grandchildren a lesser world, a lesser country, a lesser life than we were given. And that is not our job here. Our job is to be good ancestors and leave things better than we found them. And then that best of all of the inalienable rights, the pursuit of happiness, originally it was actually going to be economic well-being, and it was replaced. The pursuit of happiness was added because it was even more expansive. But to go and pursue whatever happiness is for you, whatever your God-given purpose is here, there are basic needs, the need for shelter and for you to this community and to your family and society. And we are losing that. People cannot get into houses. The rates are up. Mortgages have doubled in the last 4 years, which means if you have a locked rate, you are not moving, which means if you don't already have a house, you're not getting a house because no new houses are being built. We have supply chain issues and all kinds of regulatory red tape, and have put all of the liquid natural gas that we have that's available to contribute to those things on tankers and send it to Europe to fill an energy vacuum there because we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. These are a sequence of very intentional decisions by leaders that have cost our future generation that opportunity to pursue their happiness, pursue their purpose. And we, as the people of this country, can make our own intentional decision to get this country back on course. And all of the turbulence that we've experienced this summer is a lot to deal with, but it has happened before. And one of the years in which it happened before was 1968. And there are an extraordinary number of parallels with that year this year. The convention being in Chicago is a really interesting recognition of that rhyming history. But when you look at an incumbent president deciding not to run again, political violence that in 68 resulted in 2 assassinations this year. Thank God the assassination attempt itself was not successful, but a great American father and family man did lose his life at a political event, and all kinds of other political divisions are rife in our society. These kinds of parallels, I think, suggest to us that what was the doorway to one era, the end of the hope and moonshots and optimism of President Kennedy's era, and then entering into an era of lost trust in government, of Vietnam, of Watergate, right through Iran-Contra, up to the forever wars and the world that we find ourselves in today. That was one season. And here we are in a rhyming year, so similar to 1968 in so many ways. And I think, again, we are on the doorstep of a new season, a new era, and it's up to us to choose what that era is going to be. Are we going to step back into hope and unity and moonshots that we know we are capable of as a country and leave that to our children and grandchildren? Or are we going to believe the fear narratives and the division that's out there and throw up our arms and say, well, I guess I've just got to do what I'm told and vote for one of the 2 options that are both doing the exact same thing to I choose hope. And I know that each of you do too, because you're here. And I could not be more honored to serve at your side in this fight. And I feel that passion out there. Everybody is ready to step into this next moment. And I couldn't be more excited to do it with all of you. So thank you for being here. I hope you're as amazed by our team as I am every day. They are here fighting for this country and for all of us, and for those kids and grandkids. So thank you all for being here. I'll see you out on the campaign trail. Let's go take our country back.